Rama asked, "The infinite consciousness becomes aware of consciousness as its object within itself, and thus does this world appearance come into being. How does the object arise?" So what Rama's asking here is, how does a particular object arise? I can see a video camera right now. If consciousness is simply consciousness, why is the object of a video camera arising? And we can have lots of stories about this. I could say how this video camera was passed on to me by my mother. I could talk about how she bought it and how it was shipped from the factory to the shop where she bought it, and how it was made in the factory. I could go on about the technology behind it, optical technology, electronic technology, and so on. And in fact, the story of this video camera and how it arose in awareness right here could go on indefinitely. But these are the stories, personal stories, technical stories, based on ideas of a world out there. And we're not interested in these stories. And this is what Vasistha is making clear in the next part of this chapter. Vasistha replied, "For want of a cause, the object does not arise at all. Therefore consciousness is ever free and ever indescribable and indefinable." We're just interested in consciousness, not the content of consciousness. Ram asked, "If that is so, how do the ego sense and such other categories arise? How does one experience the world?" Vasistha replied, "For want of a cause, none of these things ever arises. Where is the object of perception? All the so-called created objects are but illusions of perception." We're coming and going all the time. That's the bottom line. Once we drop all the stories, objects of perception are arising and disappearing all the time. And we're not interested in them or in the stories. We're only interested in that by which awareness happens. This is what we need to keep coming back to, and not be bothered about the stories of an external world and the stories from that external world. Because that's just notions upon notions, the ocean of notions. Vasistha replied, "For want of a cause, none of these things ever arises. Where is the object of perception?" It doesn't exist in pure awareness. All the so-called created objects are but illusions of perception. It's the stories we have about them as something solid, as something external, as something real and substantial. Ram asked, "In this pure consciousness which is free from movement, and therefore free from the awareness of an object, how does illusion arise?" Again, we're not concerned with this anymore. We've had lots of stories about how it arises, but these are just ways of trying to get a feel for it. But now we're not concerned with how things arise. We want to just be in that in which they seem to be arising. Vasistha replied, "O Ram, for want of a cause there is no illusion either. All this, I, you, and all the rest of it, is the one infinite peace." Come back to your sense of being. Come back to the sense of being. Ram asked, "Lord, I am bewildered and I do not know what to ask now. I am totally awakened or enlightened. What shall I ask now?" He's run out of questions to ask, so he's asking, "What questions shall I ask?" Vasistha replied, "In the absence of a cause for any of this, do not inquire into the cause, the why, and then you will easily rest in the supreme, indescribable reality." So we're giving up on asking the question, why? Why? The wise have nothing to do with the wise. Ram said, I accept that for want of a cause there has never been a creation. But to whom does this confusion concerning knowledge and its object arise? Vasistha replied, for want of a cause, and also because the one infinite peace alone exists, there is no illusion either. You do not rest in that peace because you have not repeatedly contemplated the truth. And this is what Vasistha is encouraging here. Let's finally drop the whys. Let's just rest in the truth. Ram asked, how does contemplation arise and what is non-contemplation? Again we are caught up in this same trap. Vasistha replied, in fact there is no illusion in the infinite. However, because consciousness is infinite and indiminishable, the concept of repeated contemplation of this truth arises in it. And this is spiritual practice. Spiritual practice is coming back by whatever means necessary to realization of the nature of awareness, the nature of our attention, and the nature of consciousness. Ultimately, there's no need for spiritual practice because this is reality. But in order to realize this, we need to practice